Welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really fascinating economic philosophy, one that kind of turns some common ideas about fairness completely on their head.
So let's just kick things off with a puzzle. According to the author we're looking at today, the correct amount of government-subsidized housing is exactly 0. Yep, you heard that right, 0.
And here's another one for you to chew on. What if I told you that a tax system with a higher marginal tax rate could actually leave low-income folks with more money in their pockets than a system with a lower one?
Now, I know these ideas might sound completely backward, right? But believe it or not, they're both unlocked by a single, really powerful economic principle. Let's see what it is.
Okay, so the key that unlocks both of these puzzles is this idea of a hidden cost, a kind of economic waste that, policymakers often just completely overlook.
To really get it, just imagine you're offered a choice. $100 in cash or a $100 gift card to a specific store, let's say a coffee shop. Almost everyone takes the cash, right? It's a no-brainer, because cash gives you total flexibility. You can buy coffee or groceries or just save it. That gift card, it locks you in.
So let's say you'd only be willing to pay maybe $60 for that $100 coffee gift card. That $40 difference, that's what we're talking about. It's pure economic waste. Economists have a name for this. They call it deadweight loss. It's value that just, poof, vanishes because resources aren't being used in the most efficient way.
Okay, so how in the world does this idea of deadweight loss apply to something as big and complicated as housing assistance?
Well, the argument is that a housing subsidy acts exactly like that gift card. It forces you into a specific choice, a particular apartment that you might not actually value at its full market price. Maybe it's not in the neighborhood you want, or the layout just doesn't work for your family.
In the source's example, if a subsidized apartment has a market rent of $3,000, but you only personally value living there at $2,500, that creates $500 of deadweight loss. Every single month. That's $500 of value that just disappears into thin air because of the inefficient way the help was delivered.
And this gets to the absolute heart of the argument. Why give a restrictive gift card when you can just give cash? Direct payments, they get rid of that deadweight loss. They respect that people know what's best for themselves. You can divide the money up to help more people, and it lets the market do its thing without all these distortions.
All right, so that's the spending side of things, making sure help gets delivered without waste. But what about the other side of the equation? This exact same logic of efficiency applies to how the government collects money in the first place.
The author lays out this hierarchy of taxes, basically ranking them by how much deadweight loss they create. The goal for any government should be to fund itself by starting at the top of this list and only moving down when the category above it is completely tapped out. And here's the crucial point. Some taxes are just plain better than others. At the very top, you've got Pigovian taxes. These are taxes designed to discourage bads, like pollution. Get this, they actually have negative deadweight loss. That means they make the economy more efficient. How cool is that? Next are windfall taxes, like on the rising value of land. Those are neutral. It's only the last resort, taxing productive work and income, that actually creates deadweight loss and shrinks the whole economic pie. So this brings us all the way back to our second puzzle. How on earth could a higher tax rate actually be better for the poor? Well, it all comes down to building a smarter system using these exact principles. Just look at the two scenarios on the screen. In the first one, you've got a 10% tax rate with a $4,000 credit. But in the second, you've got a much higher 20% rate, but it's paired with a much larger $8,000 credit. For someone earning $39,000, the system with the higher tax rate actually gives them a bigger refund. It's totally counterintuitive, but for lower earners, that larger credit more than cancels out the higher rate. And this really shows the critical difference between your marginal tax rate, that's just the rate on the next dollar you earn, and your effective tax rate, which is what you actually end up paying as a percentage of your total income. It is a hugely important distinction. Okay, let's see how this actually works. This table is based on a really simple system. A flat 40% marginal tax on all income combined with a $10,000 universal payment to everybody. Now just watch what happens to the effective tax rate, the actual amount people pay.
The results are pretty amazing. As this chart shows, someone who earns $20,000 ends up with a negative 10% effective rate. The system actually pays them. Meanwhile, a millionaire pays a rate that's almost the full 39%. So you get this highly progressive outcome from a very simple, flat marginal system.
So, by focusing on this one key idea of economic waste, we've solved our puzzles about both housing and taxes. Let's pull it all together and see how these pieces form a single, unified philosophy.
The author gives this whole philosophy a name, market equitism, and its core goal is pretty simple. Find that sweet spot that balances the goals of economic efficiency and social equality. It really boils down to a simple two-pronged approach. First, you use smart policies, like those Pigovian taxes, to fix market failures and grow the total economic pie as big as you possibly can. And second, you redistribute some of that pie using the most efficient tools you've got, which means cash transfers funded by those efficient taxes. Ultimately, this framework gives us a logical way to get the best of both worlds, a bigger economic pie and a fairer way of slicing it. But it leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. When we're building a better society, should maximizing this kind of economic efficiency be our ultimate goal, or is it just one important tool among many?